What's going on, guys? I am John from Mr. Winnie Productions, and today I'll be discussing my top 5 hardest to find Power Rangers morphers. Number 1, the Magnet Offender morpher from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. And a much better one compared to the last one I had, which pulling this part was like pulling teeth, because I had to I kept wondering if I would break it if I pulled too hard, but with these morphers, you have to be aggressive with them, because to pull them back, you have to pull really hard. And even though this one is easier, you still have to push hard for it to close, so that's just how it's made. So, and finding this on eBay was hard because when I first looked them up, people were selling these one piece at a time. And I would ask the seller, where's the other piece? And he was like, oh, I lost it. And I'm like, how could you lose it? And he was like, I'm sorry, sir. But yeah. But recently I found a better one that's not defective, and it works. You just have to put it in a certain way for it to come on. But yeah, it's old, so it makes sense. There we go. Number 2, the Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue Titanium Morpher. And this was also hard to find because this is the first ever American created Power Rangers morpher, so of course it would make sense that people would charge an arm and a leg for it, but for over $100, I'd say no, but if it's for say 40, 50, if that, I'd say go for it. Titanium Power. Number 3, the Power Rangers Wild Force Lunar Wolf Morpher. Now the functionality on this is pretty simple. It's just kind of like your average Wild Force morpher, cell phone morpher with the numbers and the buttons, with the on and off switch here on the side. But the sound is very low for a certain reason. This is the Bandai China version. And with the Japanese version, the sound is relatively louder, but it's still not as loud. And this is also something I wanted to mention. If you're looking for certain morphers, make sure to always ask the seller where the morpher's from, because depending on where they were made will depend on what sounds you'll get. And you may be surprised how one is lower and one's louder, and how one has an on and off switch and the other one doesn't, but it depends on what you like the best. Number 4, the Quantum Morpher from Power Rangers Time Force. This is one of the more harder morphers to find. Compared to the first 3, those can be found, but it's just pretty much how they're overpriced. But this one, however, is not just overpriced when you have to be really lucky in order to find one at a decent price, say maybe 40, 50 bucks, maybe even 60. But just to find one of these, especially during an auction on eBay, it's really difficult to get, being how there's so many people bidding non-stop. And just look at that. I mean, overall the quality looks great. This one didn't come with the back, which is why it was cheaper when I bought it. But it really comes down to what you prefer the most when it comes to this version or the QRS controller, aka the Timefire Morpher. So if you have a preference on these two, you can check them out. Now, out of those 4 morphers I showed, I know you're thinking, which morpher could be harder to find than those? The Rhino Morpher from Power Rangers Jungle Fury. This, compared to the Quantum Morpher and the other morphers, took me the longest to find, and let me tell you why. I usually try to get my Power Rangers toys overseas, either from Japan, because I like the quality compared to the American versions, and they're bigger and make more sounds. And this one I was hesitant to get because, being how this is from Bandai Taiwan, I know that there are differences between certain morphers, like how I showed with the Lunar Wolf Morpher, how one morpher was louder, one was lower, and one had an on and off switch and one didn't. This is the closest thing to a legacy morpher as you can get. I mean, it's not die-cast, but the overall weight of it and how it's made overall, this, without a doubt, is not only hard to find, but I can see why it is, because the quality overall is just really awesome. Switching from blaster mode to blade mode is just, yeah, look at that. If you're looking for a Rhino Morpher and you don't want the American version, which is just mainly a dagger, and you want something more show accurate, if you can't find the Japanese version, Bandai Taiwan is the best way to go. And one last thing before I go, I want to show you guys this. Now in the Bandai Japan version, you open this, you hear the standby sound, you push this button right here, and then it makes the activation noise. But with the Bandai China version, you open this, you push this, and then, yeah, it sounds just as loud as the Japanese version, but the functionality is in reverse. So when you push this button, it gets the sounds ready, and when you open it, then it does the main sounds. So always be aware that if you're shopping for morphers in Japan compared to China, and make sure you ask the seller which version it is, because I know there are people out there who want show accurate morphers that are from the Sentai, aka Power Rangers. So if you want to check those out, or you like both, you can look them up on eBay. And until next time, take care, you rock, and stay humble.